software.
Sure. Yeah. Okay, we are going to go ahead and call the meeting to order since it is 6 p.m. I need motion to adopt the agenda, please, with the addendum. Moved and seconded to approve that agenda with the addendum. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carries. 3.0, approval of the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve those minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. 4.0, consideration of bills and warrants. Question over those?
Move to approve the bills and warrants.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve those bills and warrants. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. 5.0, hearing of requests and suggestions of citizens and organizations. Is there anyone in the audience that is not already on the agenda that would like to address the board? Okay, seeing none, we will move to 6.0, report from the superintendent of schools.
Okay, the first thing I have is the Kansas CAN, which is a star recognition program. So there are multiple awards that a district can apply for, and those are the ones that are qualitative measures where you turn in your own data and narratives and things like that. And then the other are things that are automatically calculated by KSDE. And so there are 3 possibilities there. And out of those, the district was awarded a Bronze Star for high school graduation rate. So that was good. And then out of the qualitative measures, the district was awarded a Silver Star in social emotional growth. And I'll tell you, Mr. Pegues and I both were. I got the letter. And it was exciting to get the letter because we're like one, I think, of 18 others in the state that got the silver award for social emotional. But, really wanted it to be gold. We're working towards that. But this year, we also were awarded the Bronze Star in the individual plans of study. And so Kylie Lucas helped get that written with Mr. Pegues, and so we were very excited for that. All 3 of those stars. So now that I've told you, the banners, the press releases, that'll all go out. That's something that not many districts can say. And I will tell you that today, Jeff came into my office very excited. He's like, look at this. And so I always know when he's got a piece of paper and he's shaking it, wants me to look at some kind of data of some sort. And so, he does a sheet that runs in comparison to other districts and things with assessment data and improvement and growth in the assessment data. And it was very exciting. So we were pleased. So we'll be able to share that state assessment data once that's cleaned up. We'll have our meeting sometime later this fall, winter, or early spring. So we've got that going on. Next thing, this is National School Principals Month. They get an entire month. So Friday, they're going to have hamburgers from Ballers. They'll tell me tomorrow whether they want hamburger, cheeseburger to celebrate. And we'll deliver that to them on Friday. It's also the Bus Driver Appreciation Day next week, so they're going to have lunch as well. Food is a good way to let people know that they are appreciated and valued. It's one less thing they have to do. They don't have to cook a meal. So we've got that going on. It is National Bullying Prevention Month, so there's a variety of activities. And then there's actually a day in November. I don't know. So the actual day in November, there will be activities as well. They can share that with you. Also, Monday is professional development, so there is no school on Monday, October the 21st. That's like the choose your own. Remember we used to read those books and it like choose your own ending or whatever? It's like choose your own professional development. So it's differentiated based on what an employee needs and wants. So it's always a good day of learning. That'll be at the high school for all certified staff on Monday. On the 28th, so then the following Monday, that's early dismissal. Kids will get out at noon. Teachers will work on grades. That will also kick off parent-teacher conferences. So our parent-teacher conferences, high school, middle school, this year, we have moved to doing in the fall, just like we did in the spring, those student-led conferences. We have better attendance if a kid calls the parent and says, hey, I really want you to come. I want to tell you about what I'm learning and what my attendance is and what my goals are and those kinds of things. So in the fall, it's going to be those things, goals, attendance, behavior, those kinds of issues, where in the spring it'll be on that individual plan of study. They'll have meetings about that. So 28th will be those conferences, middle school, high school, 4 to 7:30. The 29th, that's everybody in the district, elementary, middle school, high school. They all have parent-teacher conferences. Then on the 30th, it'll just be elementary. And then on November the 1st, there won't be any school. in session. So the day after Halloween, if you choose to trick or treat, you can do that, and then you don't have to worry about getting up early the next morning. That is the comp day for having worked late those 2 evenings. So that's what I've got. Any questions? Anything you want to know?
Okay, thank you very much.
Sure.
Moving on to reports by principals. So we'll start with the high school like usual. Hear from those folks.
I'm going to spend a minute or two just talking about some colleges that have visited our campus, some businesses we've been to. Colleges that have visited PHS this semester, we have LCC, Independence Community College, Pitt State, Neosho County Community College, Kansas State, Wichita State, and Missouri Southern. Colleges that are scheduled to visit in the future, KU, Rock Chalk Jayhawk, Boy Scout Community College, and Emporia State University. So far, we've taken some college campus visits. 60 seniors visited LCC for Senior Day on September 11th. We're scheduled to attend Independence Community College Senior Day on October 18th. Neosho County Community College preview on November 13th. Pittsburgh State University on November 20th. And on October 29th, all juniors and seniors will be bused to LCC for their annual college fair. And there will be over 70 different colleges from the 4-state region in one location for students to visit with. For those students that maybe aren't planning to go to college right out of school, last week our students took business tours to Tank Connection, Sun Graphics, Ducommun, and PowerFlame, and we are scheduled to visit Alexander Manufacturing on Friday, October 25th. Last Tuesday, October 8th, we had our Apply Kansas event. And the Apply Kansas event is an annual statewide campaign in which high schools conduct an event to help seniors apply to college with their peers and with help, guidance, and a cheering squad from school staff, local community supporters, and post-secondary volunteers. The goal is to increase the number of students applying, enrolling, and succeeding in college or other post-secondary goals. For many students, applying to college can be a daunting task, but it can be particularly overwhelming for students who may be first in their family to pursue post-secondary educational dreams or have yet to consider their plans after high school. As you know, much of our student body is an underserved population, which is why the event is so important. Students were able to spend time completing college admissions applications with help from adults and for free as the cost was waived for the day. They could also utilize this time to research and apply for jobs if they were planning to enter the workforce. A few research military-related opportunities, and of our 82 students who are on campus at PHS, 79 seniors participated in this event. So it was a good turnout for all of our seniors. And tomorrow morning, we have over 60 students scheduled to take the ACT. And our save the date, the PHS Annual Career Fair is Tuesday, November 2nd, 9 o'clock to 11 a.m., which is when local businesses come in and all our students can visit with them.
Okay, so we've got parent-teacher conferences coming up, student-led conferences, so we've been working on that. Lunch policy, that was new this year at the high school, keeping 9th, 10th, and 11th grade in the cafeteria. Kids aren't real fond of hearing that, but I think it's gone really well. Part of the concern was them not being happy, as well as adding a whole nother class into the lunchroom every day. But staff and students have both done a great job, and all the concerns we have are gone. It's went really well, so we're happy with that. Athletics and activities, fall sports are winding down. We have one cross-country runner still running, and he has a good chance to qualify for state. He has league and regionals the next 2 weeks, both at Chanute. We had four tennis players qualify for state over the weekend, both doubles teams. State tennis is at Topeka Friday and Saturday of this week. Football has senior night Friday night against Atchison. It is a 6 o'clock start time due to the distance, and we'll do senior night at 5:45 before the game. Volleyball took second at the Neota Shea Tournament Saturday and finishes a regular season over the next week. Sub-state is next weekend for volleyball. Soccer has been strong the last 2 weeks, got a win and a tie on Saturday, and they will have regionals at the end of this month. Debate, several individuals and teams either winning or finishing in top 3 of multiple tournaments, expecting 3, maybe more state qualifiers there. Fall orchestra and choir concerts are the next 2 Wednesdays. Band is marching in the Pitt State Homecoming Parade Saturday. They're marching in Neowalla on the 26th for a rating, and they have a field show on the 30th at Pittsburgh Middle School to get judged there, and winter sports start on November 18th. It's a lot.
It is a lot. Never a dull moment.
Any questions for these men? Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay, middle school, if you're here, we'll hear from you.
Good evening. Good evening. All right, so at the middle school, we're winding down to the end of the 9 weeks, and so there's a ton of activities for the kids, a lot of rewards. So our year started off really strong, and it's still going, so we're just in the beginning of it. But on Friday, we took a moment to acknowledge some of the things that the students are doing, whether it's with their attendance, because we edged out Independence Middle School by 0.02 of a percentage. So that's one kid making it to school on time and not taking a tardy. And so we brought in community members. Normally we just throw junk food at the kids. That's a lot of it. And that is one of the things that motivate them whenever we survey them. They're like, well, can we just get some Takis? And so, or,
Me
you
too,
know,
I understand.
Taco Mayo taco certificates and candy. And so we wanted to do something different this time and do an activity because the students have done so well, we trust them to it. And so we invited in some of their club coaches and club organizations. We invited in our site council. We invited in a couple of the moms that are making multiple trips each morning to make sure that their kids and their kids' friends get to school, whether they're picking them up as they're walking in. I know one of the moms that we invited, she actually makes 2 trips every morning back to her neighborhood to grab some more secondary students to get them to school. So we wanted to acknowledge them. They came in, we played rock, paper, scissors every passing time. I didn't tell the kids this, but we didn't count tardies. And so, so they have a couple minutes to make sure we figure out who the winner was that round. They passed beads around, and so if you won, you gave over your beads. At the end of the day, we had a 6th grade student, took all of the beads and actually beat Coach Cato, 6th hour, between 5th and 6th hour. And so today we got him a Sonic drink for lunch. And so that was, we had a lot of fun last Friday. Next Friday, we've got rewards for the students that are passing all of their classes on the last day of the quarter. It's the same thing we've done for years. And so as long as they're passing all their classes and they don't have any discipline referrals, anything major, then they're able to participate. They're going to have some choice activities around the building. And so we'll celebrate the end of the first quarter with rewards on Friday the 25th. Then on Monday, we've got our hands full. So we dismiss at noon. And so each grade level planned something specific for the day to meet, whether it's IPS or whether it's just community service and civic service. And so 6th grade is going to Glendale Park and they're going to pick up trash. They're walking over there. They're going to clean up Glendale Park. 7th grade is going to tour the downtown on Main Street, and they're going to tour the locally owned businesses and interview each one of them. They're going to get some time with them for entrepreneurship and what's available out there and what you can do. And then 8th grade is actually going to have a finance seminar. So it's a Future Now Finance. And so Susan Hill through Sparkville, she's going to be sponsoring it, pulling in community members and her ties to the community to come in, and they're going to simulate a financial, a week in the life of an adult person with responsibilities like daycare and like parking tickets. And so it's even the bad stuff. And so, yeah, sometimes people go to jail. And so they'll simulate that. And then, so we're doing that on the noon dismissal. And then we've also got student-led conferences coming up. Students will present their parents, their grades, their GPA, FastBridge fall scores, average daily attendance, tardies by period, e-hall pass, so the amount of time they're spending out of class, and finish on the last piece that they're going to present on is their glow and their goal. So what they're doing really well, what they've started off with, and the habits that they're shining on, and then a goal for the next 9 weeks.
Yep. So our fall sports are also wrapping up this week. We have our last home football game tomorrow. So if you want to come watch some middle school football against Pittsburgh, that'll be tomorrow at 5. We've had some pretty successful seasons with volleyball, tennis, and cross country. Our one tennis player was very successful, but we do plan on opening up a 6th grade tennis club to kind of gain interest in that and help grow those programs a little bit. This year we hosted a volleyball tournament at the high school, which is the first time we've done that in a while. We combined our cross country meet with the high school as well so that we can have a home cross country meet, and that was awesome for our kids. And then we also did home tennis. We had our regional tennis tournament for SEK League at our Forest Park. Wrestling, we talked about it a little bit last year, moving those seasons so that girls had the opportunity to both play basketball and wrestle and not have to dual sport, because that was deterring a lot of girls from wrestling. And as Tyler tells me all the time, girls wrestling is the fastest growing sport. So we're going to make sure girls have those opportunities. But they started practice today. So we had about 5 wrestlers show up for just girls, which is awesome. And then after boys finish their football season, they'll start practice on next Monday, so the 21st. We do have a few tournaments that are only girls, and then a few tournaments that are combined, and then one that's only boys, to give them all some great opportunities to get involved in the sport. Girls basketball will start November 11th, so that gives wrestling a chance to finish up before they start, and the games for that will start December 3rd. So it does make it a little bit tricky with gym space with boys basketball and girls basketball, but I think it'll be great. I know that Mr. Begis is going to talk about behavior later, but we've had a great start to our year with our behavior data, and I think that goes into our staff's active supervision, and they're following our matrix and their behavior interventions that they've been doing in the classroom. So we've had a lot lower number of DRs this year than we have seen in the past few years, which is great. And since October is Bullying Awareness Month, our counselor is going to be going in and teaching lessons about bullying. So what is bullying? How is it different than just someone says something mean to you? Getting into that a little bit. We'll also have Viking time lessons about it for our SEL. And then we're going to be doing a bullying survey so that the kids fill that out and they say, like, have you seen bullying? Have you been bullied? That gives us some good data to look at and see what things we need to address. And then with that, they're also doing a relationship survey, so identifying adults in the building that they have a positive relationship with. And then it's weird, but in November, there's Anti-Bullying Week. So October is Anti-Bullying Month or Bullying Prevention Month, and then November there's a week that's Anti-Bullying Week, so that is the week that we are going to celebrate it. Celebrate it sounds weird, but we're going to have a Spirit Week dedicated to Anti-Bullying Week. So we have some cool theme days picked out for those, and the kids are going to do some activities, some being kind things, and just working on those positive relationships.
Any questions?
I think y'all's sign out front looks so good, by
Thank
the
you.
way.
It really
It's
does.
amazing. And I should have said this when the high school was there. You guys, all the schools do a great job of posting on social media. I enjoy watching it and seeing all the amazing things that are going on from kids and teachers. So thank you, everybody, for doing that. But I really like the sign.
Thank you. We do too.
Looks good. You guys worked really hard to get it, and it looks
Yes.
really good.
We just put the businesses up today that all donated, so if you watch it for a little bit, you'll see all it cycle through all the different businesses.
That donated to make it happen.
Yeah.
It was a
Exciting.
community effort.
Tyler, what part did you say they were going to the 6th grade?
Glendale. Glenwood.
Glenwood.
That's right.
Yeah, okay. I just thought maybe we got a new park.
No,
Okay.
ma'am.
Maybe.
Glenwood.
You got Olivia all excited over
Yeah,
there.
I would have gone there.
All right. Okay, thank you very much, appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Well, we should have congratulated them about their helping the cross-country kid that they were complimenting, noting. She got right in there and they probably saved their kid's life. Yeah.
Knowing what to do.
Yeah, and doing it. Yeah. I've taken training.
Spot.
Always wondered, can you do it?
Yeah, I'll go first.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Nope.
Well, I'm gonna kind of echo what
the middle school is talking about, it's bullying week, bullying month. Next, in November, they've got bullying week. But one thing I noticed about bullying, when you make it a daily topic, it's like playing Ollie Ollie Income Free with bullying. Everybody gets accused of bullying. So every morning, we talk about what bullying is, what it means. And so the first week is the bystanders. And if you see something, say something. The second week is about those kids that are bullies, and it's not your fault. And then this week, we're talking to those mean kids that might be bullies, and we just say, you're not welcome here. We try to talk about it every day. Ms. Martinez talks during her counseling sessions, and we're going to give that survey. I used to give that survey at the end of September, but Barney getting me out in Foursquare doesn't make him a bully. It just makes him a better Foursquare person than me. So we're going to give that survey at the end of next week and try to look at it. Last year's survey had some positive things. 95% of our kids reported never being bullied or harassed electronically. 94% said they were never bullied at school. And 75% said that they always felt safe at school, but had seen bullying happen. So bullying is always going to be a problem. It's really hard to catch. I read a book called Odd Girl Out that talks about people remembering their third grade bully that says, hey, let's all wear pink to school tomorrow. And then 4 of the girls show up in purple and the one girl in pink is left out. You can't catch that. It's hard to, but we work really hard on making it be a kind, happy place at school. So bullying's a problem, always will be, and we just keep working on it. We've had a great start to the school year. Our numbers are up, our discipline referrals are down. Thank you, Ms. Green. Our social media are up. We had 25 positive office referrals in September. And then we've really focused on attendance, and I think it's trending positively. Every week we spin the wheel of perfect attendance wheels, and we give away 5 little rewards for 4th grade during lunchtime, and the kids really enjoy it. We do it for 5th grade and 4th grade, and then every month we talk about perfect attendance, and Mr. Strathy and Mr. Barrick, our music and PE teachers, we built a little schedule. So if you got perfect attendance for the month, we surveyed the students, and they said they wanted extra recess, so extra recess it was. We planned on like playing bingo because we got a bunch of neat prizes. The kids love talkies. Or indoor kickball. Mr. Strathy does a great indoor kickball game. So as the weather changes every month, if your son or daughter has perfect attendance, you'll get a chance to have a little fun on Friday with 2 of the best people around. Ms. Peven and I will talk later, but our PLCs have gone really well this year. We've aligned those Wednesday mornings for things towards our building goals, trying to focus on building needs like attendance. And then we've done every safety drill from I Love You Guys. So September was Preparedness Kindness Month. We did every drill. So, and today our 4th grade came back from Caney, so off campus, all our 5th graders have been to Greenbush and had a great time with positive comments. And our 4th grade got to go to Caney. PTO paid for half of that, so thank you, PTO. And I just think it's been a really positive group of people to work with. I'm really proud of the job they're doing. You're up.
I'm up. Gotta follow that. Thank you, Mr. Freese. Garfield, beginning of the year highlights. A lot of the things you're gonna hear are probably very similar to middle school or Guthridge. We kind of approach bullying a little bit, as Kurt mentioned. The more you use the word bully, the more you're gonna hear it. So we talk about a kindness challenge. We've really focused on climate and culture via a kindness challenge where we draw weekly winners from kids who nominate other students for their kindness challenge. When they catch them showing that Garfield integrity, and we talk about that as doing the right thing even when nobody's watching. Attendance is also a big building goal. We use what we call attendance matters. We had a bunch of special prizes printed up at the end of last year, and we draw weekly. The first 10 days we drew every day for a special prize, and then we've kind of moved that to weekly drawings, so students have a chance to have a perfect week and get a prize on our attendance matters. That's in addition to our building-wide positive recognitions that we do daily, our superstars, our calling the students up, all the things that we do on a regular basis. A few of the high notes so far this year, our math carnival went really well. We had close to 200 people there. They seemed to enjoy the food, the fun. We had a ton of different stakeholders visit, and they seemed to very much enjoy themselves. Let's see. Academically, we won't go too deep into our academics. We'll talk about that in a minute. But our small groups, our title groups have been going really well. We're looking forward to kicking off our after-school program as soon as possible. Progress monitoring in our groups has allowed them to be more dynamic and adaptable. The ladies are really keeping up well with that this year. They're doing a great job moving kids in and out of groups to the places that match their phonics or reading and math deficits the best that we can. We're already seeing growth with our small group, so that's something that we always really look forward to. One of the busiest parts of our year is definitely approaching. I always talk about October being one of those months with parent-teacher conferences, our fall pictures, our fall concert in the park on 10/22 is coming up, fundraisers coming up, and so much more. I want to say a special thank you to the PMS leadership class for venturing out, coming around town, and visiting our classes when they get a chance. While we are finding the time to enjoy several activities, the grit we show every day has been outstanding. Our teachers, our students really are doing hard things right now. They're working really hard. We're definitely emphasizing not only the academic stuff, but the relationships and culture this month, especially when we talk about bullying. Especially with reference to that, we see a lot more when we emphasize the positive. We feel a lot better about it. A few things coming up in the near future are our state interim assessment. They don't call it a predictive anymore, but the window's been moved up, so our third grade will be taking that test here in the next few weeks. Additionally, this is the first year that our second grade will be part of the pilot reading test. So we are going to have our second graders take a sort of a mock state assessment. We don't know exactly what the state assessment is going to look like. There's going to be a few changes supposedly in the rigor of the passages, so we thought that it would be an outstanding chance for us to get our second graders involved in that testing protocol as well, just to kind of see where we are. Other than that, everything is going very well at Garfield. We're having a great start to our year, and we're glad to share that with you guys.
All right. So at Lincoln, we started off with great attendance at our sneak peek. We had several different tables set up. My family Livette was there, parents as teachers, the scouts were there, our health assistant had a table set up. So it was really a fun time to see all the new littles come in and their parents. On September 5th, we started our partnership with LCC for morning greetings. So they come in the morning. They've been there 3 times, but we have more scheduled. They come in, they greet the kids when they come, and they've even passed out water bottles. October 10th, the firemen came for our fire safety talk, and the kids got to go out and see the fire truck. In fact, they even got to see them go and put on their stuff really fast. So it was an exciting time. And then the 11th, the preschool went to the pumpkin patch. The 4-year-olds and our 3-year-olds, they didn't go to the pumpkin patch, but the 3-year-old teachers set up a little pumpkin patch fall activity in our playground. So they got to have that experience too. October 11th was also Kindergarten Science Day, where they did push and pull, and they had even somebody from Twin Valley come up with a bucket truck so they could see that. Today, the first grade went to Banley's farm. They got to see farm animals, and they saw dogs, and they even got to see some honeybees, and they got to try the honey. Some other things that are going on at Lincoln. First grade is participating in the Bridging the Gap with Presbyterian Manor. It's a really fun program because the residents get to come to Lincoln sometimes, and then Lincoln goes to the Presbyterian Manor to play bingo. And when they come, they color sometimes, or sometimes they build things. So it's really neat to see them interact and build those relationships.
And I love those pictures. I don't know who's having more fun. I don't. It's great.
I know.
I love them.
We also have had picture day, dental screenings, flu shots, and our book fair is getting ready to start the week of conferences. So that's what's been going on at Lincoln.
Any questions?
You guys are all excited to kick off the readathon next week?
Yes. They're excited about the basket.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank
Appreciate your
you.
time sitting on that.
Shelley, you want to stay up there and then?
Are we just going to talk? Okay, yeah.
Okay, so we're going to move on to 8.0, Component A, the Student Achievement Data. So we have several people coming up to discuss that.
And so we can just do that really quickly by building. So we'll start with Lincoln and just work our way up.
Okay.
They just have a few minutes. And this is the data that was included in your view last week on Friday, so you've had a chance to review. It's FastBridge data. So that's a little bit different than what we've done before, so. They've got it.
Hello. Okay, so what you're looking at is a comparison between fall of 2023 to fall of this year. The top part is our FastBridge math assessment. I did include pre-K 4s on here just because since we are assessing them, we have the data, we need to show it. So we do not provide interventions for the pre-K 4s, we just assess them. And then we let the parents know about their scoring. And then below that is our reading. Some things that we're doing differently. So with our interventions, we've started 15 minutes earlier this year. And by doing that, that gave us extra time so that every kindergarten and first grade teacher has their own we call it Viking time as our interventions. So they all have their own Viking time, where in the past, a couple teachers have had to share time, so then that's more kids that we're dividing into small groups. So this way our group sizes are a lot smaller. We might have a max of 3 kids. Last year we had 5 to 6 kids. So it's a little more intense instruction, individualized. And then something else we did, we're using our kindergarten aides during their specials time. So the kindergarten aides don't go with their classes during specials. So we're pulling those kindergarten aides then to work with students in tier 2 and 3 in reading and math. So we are utilizing everybody at Lincoln. So
Everybody, every minute.
Yes.
You go.
Yep.
You hooked up.
So adding, in addition to our music program, because we added one more music teacher. So by doing that, our librarian is halftime librarian, halftime title. And so last year she had each teacher class had 2 library times. And so by adding another music, to just one. So now she just has 1 library time. So now I have her, and I think every morning. Yeah, every morning. So I was able to include her into our groups as well. So every 3 weeks we progress monitor. We're constantly looking at skills and students and keeping track of them. We're moving students around based on their needs. This week we're progress monitoring. We actually just, we got a lot done today. I think kindergarten we got done, and there are no tier 3 kindergartners right now for the beginning of the year.
Wow.
I know.
That's awesome.
Like when we progress monitored 3 weeks ago, I was like, okay, we know where we need to work, and then we progress monitored today, and a lot of gains in our reading. So
A lot of good explicit instruction.
very, yes, we work hard at training our title interventionist and
Those teachers are doing a
classroom.
fabulous job.
Yeah.
And as a data guy, I love their data wall. They have a data wall with every kid and where they started and where
Yep.
they're at, and as they're moving
color,
through.
yeah,
It's color
color, yep.
coordinated. It's,
Yeah,
very
it's
impressive.
very visual, and you can see where students are moving and up and
And
down.
where they came from.
Yep.
You guys had some great gains, especially in your math. Those are huge jumps in percentages. It's impressive.
Yeah, thank you. They work hard. They really do.
So how do you test a 4-year-old or 5? Is it computerized? Is
It
it
is-
verbal? Is it written?
Good question.
How
Okay.
long is it?
So with FastBridge, it is, say Shelley's the student and I'm scoring her. So I'm asking her questions. She has a paper in front of her and it might have just a bunch of letters on it. So I'm going to say, Shelley, I want you to start right here and I want you to tell me every letter you know. So, and she has 1 minute. So we're guiding and they have to tell us all the letter sounds, and they have 1 minute to do that. And sometimes students, they'll go off and start telling you stories. And I mean, that's just developmentally, that's where they are, and that's okay. This is just giving us a baseline, just some information at where we can help them. So as they go to kindergarten, and we just keep track of them, so.
So in that sense, it's not really standardized.
Correct.
Can you give me an
But
example in
FastBridge is
math?
what most of the state-
What?
FastBridge
Yeah.
is what most of the state uses.
That's what the state recommends.
I know,
Yeah.
but I just didn't know how it was done.
Yeah.
Can
And
you give me
it's verbal, I mean, it's, yeah.
Because not every kid's oral.
True, and
Some
there
are
are.
Visual.
Right, there are some students that aren't tested. There's a different test that they have to do through special ed. So it kind of determines on what's on their IEP or what's like that. So,
And then for math, what do they do, Whitney? How do you test
Yeah,
them?
Olivia wanted to.
same way, so they have the paper in front of them and it might have a sheet of just numbers. Same thing, tell me as many numbers as you know. It does start easier, so like the first line, there's 10 numbers on it and it's gonna be 0 to like 9, and it gets harder as you go down. So, yeah, it's the same way.
But the numbers aren't, like, here's the list of numbers, they're not in order, so the
Correct,
kid
random,
has
yep.
it memorized, can go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I mean.
So it may be like
And so it's a
8,
point.
2, 7, 6, I mean, yeah, they just, do they know their numbers? Yeah.
Any other questions?
And who gives them this test? Their teacher or you?
Nope, the interventionist.
Okay.
Our title interventionist. They've gone through
Someone they're
training.
familiar with?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. The interventionists are in and out of the classrooms all day long.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they provide that,
Yeah.
some of that small group instruction.
Yes.
I would think
So
that would
kids are
make a
very
difference.
familiar.
It absolutely, yeah.
Especially
It does.
at that
It does
age.
make a difference. Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much, ladies. Appreciate it.
Good job.
Garfield, come up.
It looks good.
Seems like I was just up here.
Back for more.
Back for more. Okay, we're gonna talk a little bit about some of the wonderful academic things that we're doing at Garfield now. And I will defer to Miss Robin as often as I possibly can, and if she wants to jump in and just swap me over the head and tell me that's not how we say that, go right ahead. If you guys have in front of you our fall district screener results, we're looking at the top section shows our Math Fast Bridge results for fall 23 and fall 24. We get the students where we kind of get them. We always go with that handoff kind of theory, you know, that if we get our students at a certain level, a certain number of our students at grade level, we want that to be higher when they leave. So the first thing that I would draw your attention to is our fall of 2023 cohort came in at 40. Our fall of 2024 cohort in math for the second grade cohort came in at 40, and the third grade cohort is at 60. So if you look at the percentage gain there, that's a pretty good percentage from a year's spread in our data. So we feel like our teachers really did some nice work at the second grade level. Another thing that's not on our sheet, you'll notice it when you see Mr. Freeze's data at Guthridge, is another thing we're really proud of is we didn't see a lot of summer slide. So our students who ended the year well stayed consistent, and they stayed kind of right there in that same neighborhood for Guthridge. We're pretty proud of that. So right now, looking at our numbers in math, we're comfortable with where we're at, and we're comfortable with the amount of growth we're going to see. Looking at our reading scores, it's a very similar type of situation. Our second graders coming in just a little bit lower. It's a little lower group than we had last year, but that's not to say that growth is not still the object there. It looks like if you look at last year, our fall second grade cohort in A reading, or our reading district assessment, was 51% at grade level or college pathway, or I should say low risk or college pathway. This fall, that same group scored at the 64th percentile, so we had a gain of 13% there as well. So those double digit gains on that cohort in both areas are something that we're really proud of. That a lot of the credit there goes to our title department. We did a little bit of shifting and changing there this summer. We have one new title staff member, but I'll let Ms. McCleary talk to you a little bit about the changes and things that we do in title to kind of enhance this growth.
Okay, so Mr. Pontius in his first year last year kind of let us run it the way that we usually did, and then he made some changes to the schedule, some improvements that I really think are going to help us grow even more. And we are able to have now definite tier 3 times where it's not just up to when we have time. They are scheduled. So we have tier 3 and we started that week 3.
Pretty early.
Pretty early. So we hope to see some great gains on those tier 3 kids moving to tier 2 and back into the classroom. We had one staff change in title and she's been fabulous. And we are plugging right along with progress monitoring starting today. I haven't looked at those results yet, but the girls are giving me lots of thumbs up, so that's amazing.
One thing, Ms. McCleary, in our tier 2 interventions, and this number is going to fluctuate as the groups are very flexible and adaptable, but our tier 2 interventions currently we have about 38 second graders in there and about 29 third graders. Tier 3 reading and or math building wide we have about 35. So a good chunk of our students, somewhere in the neighborhood of half of our students are a little bit better or getting either a tier 2 or a tier 2 and tier 3 intervention.
So what do you use for cutoff? And what is a tier 2? What is it?
Yeah, what is tier 2, tier 3?
Okay. Tier 1 is the general content exposure that everybody's going to get. Tier 2 is what we look at as typically, and if you look at it a little bit differently, feel free to jump in. Tier 2 are those kids who are at risk. It's like all, some, few, essentially. It's like the base of the pyramid. Everybody gets the tier 1 instruction. Tier 2 is a certain portion of our students. Typically those that are in, depending on the number of students, either below the 40th or 30th percentile, depending on how many we can get in, is typically where we make that cut. And our tier 3 kids are the lowest group of kids who need additional support in addition to the tier 2 programming.
Right. And the tier 2 should be about 20%, and tier 3 should be about 5% typically.
Ideally. We tend to have numbers just a little bit higher than that, just based
Especially
on student
beginning of the year.
population, but ideally that's where we want to be.
To use the intervention time to get them up, to work to get their skills up to where they're closer to grade level.
Yes, and I'm glad you mentioned that because one of the changes he was able to make in the schedule was everybody's getting 5 days a week, 25 minutes a day. That's in our schedule. Versus 4.
And I saw you had tier 3 math. Do you have tier 2 math too, or just tier 2 reading?
Right now, we're doing all reading, and we have some classrooms that don't necessarily need a tier 2 in reading. They have a higher kids, so then we pull in some math. But we're also working hard kind of in the sidelines. I am of training my title teachers to help with math.
Nice.
So.
Focus has been so strong on literacy,
Right.
especially at the grade band that we're at. Literacy definitely comes first. If you can't read the math, you can't do it. So we've really focused on that. But there are some areas where math definitely fits in there. So we wanted to get some intervention time for math rather than just focusing on specifically on reading.
Yeah.
Our building data also shows that math is definitely a strong suit for most of our kids. So the need was less, and the data pointed us to a lot greater reading need. So the vast majority of our tier 2 students are going to be literacy based. We do have some that are math based as well.
And we'll reevaluate that after our middle of the year scores.
Looks good.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Kurt's asked me to talk first
You're up.
tonight since he already had his chance. So we'll talk about these math FastBridge, fall scores first. We have our fourth grade there at 63%, and those would be the ones that met their benchmark score, and then comparison to a different cohort group of 40% last year. But something I do want to point out to you, just as Barney did, the cohort group going on then to fifth grade came in at 45% at grade level. So there was an increase of 5% of that same group of students increased in math. And then for reading, We have a very strong group of kids coming into fourth grade with that 63% both math and reading. So that we're very, very excited about that. And then the fifth grade score, we maintained the number, or the percentage, I should say, in that cohort group going on to fifth grade, because 47% in the fall of last year, 47% in the fall of this year at fifth grade. You can see our numbers that are involved in our either math interventions or our reading interventions there. Kind of breaks down to fourth grade, about 40% of our students are going to a tier 2 intervention. Kind of like Barney said though, tier 1, that's everybody in the classroom, everyone's receiving those good, strong instructional strategies, and we're really working on student engagement through all of our classroom teachers. And then tier 2 would be like those 40% of our fourth graders for math, or 41% of our fifth graders for math, and then it's about 49% of our fifth graders. Some of those did benchmark, but we're at such a close area of not benchmarking that we went ahead and brought them into our groups. We do have 2 brand new title aids this year, and one that just started late in the fall. And so I have tried to do some training for those title aids to get them where they can do good quality explicit instruction. And we progress monitor as much as possible every 2 weeks for reading, and just kind of on an ongoing basis in math. We're just really trying to hit those skills that need to be, hammered in. We do have 6 different reading block, like 25-minute reading intervention times, and we have 5 25-minute math blocks. So those title aids are very busy all day long. They run 11 different groups. Wow. They have one 25-minute prep time in there, and that's where I try to go in and really help them identify, based on what the needs are from our screeners, what they should be instructing on, and then we follow up with some progress monitoring with that. Questions?
So does this tell you what percentage of kids aren't reading at grade level?
Well, it would be the ones, so like a 63% of our students at fourth grade are reading at grade level, so that would be then 37% are not.
Wow.
And that's pretty
Well, for the beginning
typical.
of the year, though, that's typical. And then your goal is to get that 37% too.
Right.
Benchmark.
And so for fifth grade, 53% are not reading what we consider at benchmark for that grade level.
Like 63 to come in is high.
It is
Very
high for fourth grade.
Yeah.
Mhm. And again, that's a cohort group that's probably going to be strong all the way through.
It's a very strong class.
Yeah, because it's both math and reading.
And that also includes all of our special education students.
This does include all of our special
They're included in
education.
that number.
Now, in
We have
our
a high
building, when we start
percentage.
talking about tier 3, our special our resource teachers are serving those students, but we are also trying to serve those in our tier 2 interventions as often as possible without pulling them out of any of their specials or, out of their core instruction. So the scheduling becomes very,
It's a
very
puzzle.
tricky, but we try to give them as much support as needed. Our special education population is about 22% of that, 22, 23.
Yeah, those same cohorts have outscored the state by double digits the last 2 years too. So they have done good, well, although it may look, eye-opening that 40, 50% are at benchmark, they're outperforming the state averages when we take the state assessment, those same groups, so.
And all of the schools have showed really big gains, which is really impressive and says how well everybody works together. And just like Garfield, you guys didn't have a whole lot of like that summer, I always said it came out in the pool. And you guys, and Garfield did a great job too at really
That means that
maintaining.
the
That's a huge
students
thing.
put it
That's
in their
hard.
long-term memory.
Yeah,
That's
that's
good.
hard. It's a lot of repetition and revisiting things to do that, so.
Yep. Yes.
Any other questions or comments? Okay.
We're working hard,
All right, thank
I
you very much.
guarantee you,
It shows.
every
You guys are
single
doing a
day.
good job.
Her
Thank
title
you.
team is amazing.
Yeah, our new title aids are really impressive.
Yes.
We've really
Good.
enjoyed them this year.
Okay, middle school's up.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Okay, so we will start with some of our fall data. And at the top of our sheet, we have math first. And first thing I want to do is really highlight the sixth graders that came in. It's been the highest group that we've had since I was still in the classroom. I mean, coming in and scoring at, grade level. And I know you guys were talking earlier about, the other percent, but this is every child in our building. Yeah. Every kid. And so if you take math right now, we're sitting at 50% of the students in the middle school are on grade level. I don't ever recall that number. Kayla was my partner for years. I don't think we
I'd be
ever.
jumping up for joy.
Yeah,
I wouldn't know what to do with myself.
So that's very exciting.
That's where we're at, yeah.
Yeah.
And then if you look down at reading, we're sitting at 53% of our students. And it's broken down by grade level, and you can look at last year and see different kids, of course, but the same grade level. And we were just really thrilled with the kids that came in, and you could tell a lot of the instruction they had. And as we progress monitor, we just see we started interventions that first week of September. We started progress monitoring 2 weeks after, and we just see with each individual kid just a constant little growing, growth going up that hill. And it's been really fun to do that. One thing I did want to point out was we do have a reading interventionist, and so we have one teacher, and she sees 100 students in the week. They are listed down below by grade level, and those kids are coming in for a 30-minute intervention twice a week. And she has Monday, Wednesday groups. She has Tuesday, Thursday groups. So this is Miss Smythe. And they are very pinpoint diagnostic onto exactly the skills that those kids need. We also have kids that are in our support classes getting some extra support, and she helps plan that with the teachers as well. On the math side, we do not have a math interventionist, but we are trying our best to come up with everything we can. We have 21 kids right now getting that extra support class. And second 9 weeks, we kind of experimented a little bit last year with this. It was successful. We're going to try it again. I'm going to use the math aid, and she is going to pull kids that are just right below benchmark. We're not going real low yet. She's an aide. She does a great job, but we're going to work with just some skills to kind of help those kids, hopefully move them into that benchmark area as well. So we'll have a total of 37 kids getting math interventions once we get that kicked off.
I think it's a testament to our elementary schools and the work that they're doing. Especially, you can see where we were last year as compared to where we are this year. And so that's a remarkable difference in just a year. And so the culture, we're watching that needle move just a little bit in the right direction. We've got more students benchmarked than before. And so, I'm trying some new things, and we're going to keep trying to close that gap.
And they've
keep
visited
moving that needle.
a number of other middle schools to see, okay, what do you do for interventions? And have found that what we're doing is what.
And now they're coming and visiting us.
Right.
It's
Can
been
you
interesting.
talk a little bit about your sixth grade and what you did different and why you did that?
We sent a group. I'm going to take this one, Kendra. We took a group of teachers, and this is kind of that network that Ms. Ray just alluded to a little bit. And so we took a group of me, Diana, Kendra, and Nolting. We went over to Pittsburgh Middle School, and then we went to Royster Middle School. We came back, and it reemphasized the idea that we are doing interventions correctly. It put that in concrete for us that we're doing an exceptional job. And then it also gave us a couple little tools. So what we did is we took one period out of the day for sixth grade, and we extended the block, because we also sent our math teachers to Guthridge to also talk with the elementary teachers in vertical alignment. And so one of the things that kind of blew their mind was some of the elementary teachers that have been there for a while, and maybe they don't remember their high school experience, but those 7 period blocks in a day, you're getting as much time in PE as you are in math, and as much time in orchestra as you are in ELA throughout the day. Where in elementary schedule, you're spending more like an hour and a half or 2 hours on math, and then an hour and a half or 2 hours. It's a larger portion of your day. So we brought that back. We took a period out of the sixth grade schedule, and we added 25 minutes to ELA and to math, because those periods are 50 minutes. we cut it in two. And so ELA and math, that's one thing that they were doing over at Pittsburgh. That was one of the ideas that we stole and brought back. So instead of 21 kids getting an extra 50 minutes a day of support, now we've got 100 students in the 6th grade receiving an extra 25 minutes a day. And so that's our plan, right? That's what we're operating on right now. And that takes more discipline and more hard work from that ELA and math teacher in the 6th grade. They had to buy in on that. And so it's taking great efforts of theirs also.
And 6th graders are still getting PE every day, and they're still getting an
they're still
elective
getting
every day.
electives, yes.
So it's not like they lost anything. They didn't know, coming from one building to another anyway, but they're still getting an elective that switches 6th grade on the 9 weeks, and then they're still getting PE each day as well.
So what was the reason for not having a math interventionist? I missed that.
I don't know. You tell me. We'll take one.
Well, so we hired a reading interventionist with ESSER money. So when Miss Smythe retired, we moved her into that position. So it started years ago when we had Susan Dringenberg, and she was still here, and then we were going to have Kendra, and so be the instructional coach. And so we used part of her day and rearranged how we paid and who we had. And then Susan retired, and Kendra went into that spot. Janelle was going to retire. We used ESSER money and put her in that full-time reading spot to do reading interventions. And so now that ESSER money is gone, but what we've done is, based on class size, overall class size, we've reduced a position at the middle school, so that position is still paid for. We reduced a position this year in science. Next year, we'll reduce the position in social studies so that we can continue to pay for that, and then possibly look at adding a math interventionist. We have a math aide, which they've had for a number of years, but that's not the same as an interventionist.
Yeah, an interventionist is much more specialized. It takes a special person. Smythe is successful because she has 47 years
of teaching experience,
and she knows her curriculum. She's seen the state change it.
And she was an elementary teacher for years, so she has all of that good pedagogy.
Foundation, numbers,
she knows.
Yeah.
So the goal is to get one.
Well, the goal is to look at getting one. The thing is, you have to find the right one.
That's right.
Because you can put someone in there, but it doesn't, if we don't have the right one, then it defeats the purpose.
Yeah.
So.
Because if they have that math background, they'll be able to diagnose with our data like Janelle does now.
But if it can work, it would be magic.
It would be magic.
And I love what you guys did with the block scheduling for 6th grade. I think that is great. Like, that makes a huge difference for those kids and for the teachers. And
I think everyone's happy with it. I mean, adult and kid-wise.
It's one less change. They're used to being in a room all day long, and then they come to the middle school and they're,
every 50
moving.
minutes they're resetting.
Yeah. So.
And 6th graders, trying to get them from class to class. Those 6th grade teachers, they need a hug. Your guys' data looks really good. I love your gains, and it looks good.
That's why we're doing stuff like the rock, paper, scissors. That was a big piece of it, was how the students are performing.
Yeah, next time I want to invite to that. It's a little competitive. It looked fun.
All right.
Good job, guys.
Thank you.
He's already told me I'm going to do all the talking, so I'll go ahead and get started. Well, let me just preface, because I'm not sure who's been here before in the past, but the high school is doing their interventions totally different. We have in the past tried to do a pull-out model where students would have an English class to earn their credit, as well as a support class to have the interventions per se. And that took away one of their electives. And what we found out was the kids thought that was a punishment. We couldn't garner any motivation to continue with that type of format. Staff didn't prefer that, so we tried to come up with something a little bit unique, where both our English and math support classes are embedded, and they get a credit for it, okay? Now, of course, with math is somewhat tracked, and so those classes were already there. We had general math, which is basically predominantly Tier 3, which that's the lowest of the group. A lot of SPED students. Then we have general math, which is the transition. Then you move on up to Algebra 1, et cetera, and move up the continuum.
Currently, in our math support classes of general math and pre-algebra, we are serving 77 students, and those are taught by our math teachers and special ed. English, we've really struggled with English. Last year, we had 3 teachers within the first few weeks of school. And finally, we had Mrs. Ramirez come in. She's done an excellent job, but she went on maternity leave at the beginning of school. The plan was to have our kids' baseline data and FastBridge, as well as the progress monitoring taken care of, but the baby decided to come a little bit early, so those plans were set to the side. But she currently has 78 students that are receiving English support daily, and what that class looks like is it moves a little bit slower because they go deeper. They focus on a lot of vocab, not only how to pronounce it, but multiple meanings of words, etc., and comprehension. Because what we see up at our level is it's the multisyllabic words that they struggle with and comprehension. So that's her focus of her class. She does a really good job on that. So understanding that we are structured a little bit different, if we go back up to the data at the top of the page that you had, we are comparing 2 groups of students. And fall of 2023, this is this very large class, 100 plus, I want to say even close to maybe 115 or 20 students, where this year's class is back down to probably about 100 or so. I should have had that data, but I didn't have that for you. And we typically don't compare fall to fall. We always go from what they come into us and how they exit in the spring with those scores, so that's what we watch for. And you'll notice, too, that we're only doing grades 9 through 11. The state of Kansas, when they came out with this initiative, especially on the reading side, grades 9 through 12, everybody had to have the universal screener. And so we attempted to do that. Then they came out the second year saying that, because I'm sure there was a lot of pushback on that, a lot of our seniors aren't there. You know, it's hard to test the seniors because a lot of them are in college classes. Some of them graduate early. So they came out the second year with criteria that gave us a little bit of flexibility. And so that's why we try to focus on 9 through 11. And we still test some 12th graders, but it's predominantly our special ed that prefer and need the data to continue with their IEPs, et cetera. We were a little bit lower in math with the incoming scores. But our reading was maintained with the same incoming average from 9 through 11. We have some new things that are this year. One of the goals that we had was to utilize the IXL reading and math. More so, we were able to purchase the reading part, which that allowed for a strand of test prep that our English department was very excited about because they have prep for ACT, work keys, pre-ACT, PSAT, FastBridge, and state assessments. Everything that we're testing the kids over. And they wanted to utilize that to just help give the kids just a little bit better edge with the format of some of these tests that maybe they hadn't seen before. We also have brought in pre-AP and AP, and you can see the AP seminar is opened up to 10th and 11th graders, and we currently have 40 students. One student left last week to transfer to Lee Summit, Missouri. And pre-AP, the goal with pre-AP was to expose the students as a whole, all 9th grade students that are in regular English and all 10th grade students that are in regular English would be exposed to the pre-AP concepts that then, if they wanted to do it as a junior and a 10th grade and juniors, that they would be familiar with it. And I asked Adam today if he could just give me a little bit of a highlight of some of the things that they're doing. And here's his comments he teaches the AP English seminar. And he said, the students are currently 2/3 of the way through completing their mock performance task 1. Students have been introduced to the concepts of post-secondary research strategies, constructing an annotated bibliography, research evaluation techniques, and writing in the APA format. The mock Performance Task 1 is designed to teach students the skills and obtain feedback they will need to use during the assessment. So what he's basically saying, everything is in preparation as a mock to then go through and do the real project. And they do that first semester and they do that second semester. And here's one thing that is unique about AP. Adam will not be the one to grade that final project. It will be AP. The things will be sent off, the documents will be sent off to AP. They are the ones that score it and send it back. Now, he's responsible for all the little mini grades that take place, but where it's actually out of his hands to grade, you get a bigger, better assessment. You know, if I want to say, you're getting somebody from the outside that is going to grade it as needed to be. And I think that's excellent preparation for our students. He's just done a great job. It's exciting to see. And then, of course, Mrs. Moore with the pre-AP, she's using some of these different techniques that they use, that they emphasize, to try to help our kids become better prepared once they go to college or even into the workforce. So, questions?
Any questions at all?
Everything looks good.
Okay.
And y'all's IPS is great. Like Kylie's doing a fantastic
Yes, she
job.
is.
Luckily, I get asked to be it so much. So the college apply day, I got to come in, and the career days and the fairs, and y'all got it going on there. So it's good. And the media program that Larian has and all the extras, you guys are killing it.
Yeah.
And as a mom, my kids love going to school. I never hear them complain about coming to school. They're
Wonderful.
excited to get there. So
We have
good
a lot of
job.
people that work very hard and are very committed to their
Yes.
trade or
Yes.
content area, which is fabulous.
And all the extracurriculars and everything.
Yes.
You guys are doing a great job.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
I think, I mean, the instructional coaches that we have in each building is something that when, they don't say it often, but when they go other places and look around, I mean, ours are superior. They are strong. Strong
And the way
instructional
that
leaders.
they use all of their staff so well and place them in the time
Because they've all had
and-
that experience in
Yeah.
the classroom, being a classroom teacher.
I meet with the instructional coaches once a month. It's my favorite meeting. I'm the dumbest person in the room, and I learn so much.
Every time.
And they're also passionate about what they do.
Because they know what they do matters, makes a difference. So.
Okay, we'll move on to 8.0B, behavior data from Mr. Pegues.
Okay, so this was shared in your view. If you remember last October, I came in and shared behavior from August and September to begin the school year. When we look at behavior data, that we look as that as a measurement in our area of social emotional. As we know, behavior is communication. So when we're seeing those behaviors, whether it's a lack of self-management or self-efficacy or emotional regulation, that's a need for us to go in and teach replacement behaviors, provide supports that are necessary to improve in those areas, because we want kids graduating that have those skills and can go into the workforce. So I'm excited to share this data because this year looks really, really, really good. Some of the areas that we focused on to start the school year, we do this every year, but I think the staff really did a good job of this year. Clear expectations, this is based on research. We want to make sure that the kids, that we teach clear expectations, procedures to the kids. We spend the first couple of weeks really, really training the troops, so to speak, to start the school year. Intentional supervision, I think our admin get tired of me talking about that, but we know where our high incident times are, whether it's recess or lunch or passing period, whether it's the PE locker room or whether it's restrooms during passing period. We need to have intentional supervision during those areas. If you look, I think the middle school does a great job. If you drive by on Main Street before or after school, you see a well-oiled machine out there. Multiple adults at key areas, crosswalks, kids stationed in certain areas that are well supervised. And we talk about if you don't watch kids, sometimes they do dumb things. So we have to make sure that we're supervised at those high intentional times. The admin have done a really good job this year of really pushing the parental communication. We want to over communicate, but when we're starting to see those things, we need to communicate early. They're even tracking those communication logs. I think the middle school told me that at this point they have 350 parent phone calls to where last year they had 50. at this point. So more communication with the parents as we're starting to see those things, I think is paying off for us. Relationship building. You heard a lot of the administrators talk about how we're measuring that. That is something that Parsons teachers are outstanding at. But building those quality relationships, but even measuring it to make sure every kid has a significant relationship with an adult in the building, that helps in the area of behavior. Some of the highlights, and I'm sure you've looked through the data, but behavior referrals are down 58% from last year. Out-of-school suspensions are down 20%. ISS recovery room are down 40%. And then the big one for us that we talk a lot about are violent instances, are down 55% from last year and down 80% from 2 years ago. So coming out of COVID, we saw a big spike in behavior, a big spike in violent instances, and I think our staff has responded and done a really, really good job of fixing and tying up a lot of those things. Our top 3 referrals continue to be disruptive behavior, defiance and disrespect, and horseplay, but even those 3 are down significantly from the previous year. I think disruptive and horseplay were down 65%, defiance and disrespect was down a little bit. We still battle things. Vaping is an issue. High school, we still continue to battle that. We haven't seen an influx of that, but it's still an issue that we have the vape sensors in the bathroom. Again, the supervision plays a big role, but we're on that. Elopement and skipping has been an issue, at times secondary, but we feel like those numbers are looking better too. The e-haul pass that we put in at middle school and high school has been a deterrent to that as well. On the second page, you can kind of see different percentages. I think a really interesting thing when you hear about behavior, people get a picture, but you have 7% of the kids in the district that have a behavior referral. So when we talk about behavior, 95% of our kids, roughly 95% of our kids are doing an outstanding job. We have about 5 to 7% that are causing these issues. So for all those referrals, it's a small percentage of our population. Referrals for violence, when you see that on there, I calculate anything that's a battery or a fight that falls into that category. We monitor that every week with admin. So that's something that we're talking about regularly. On the third page, when you have the diversity that we have, it's important that we break down behavior and suspension data by race and ethnicity, because we know the national statistics show that students of color are disciplined and suspended at almost double the rate to white students. So it needs to be something that we monitor and that we have conversations about. I don't see any glaring thing there, especially with a small sample size, but it is something that we will continue to monitor as we review this data regularly.
But it's there.
Mm-hmm. Do what?
But the ethnicity issue is there. It sticks out.
Sure, there is a little bit. For a small sample size, there is, yes.
I'd like to highlight that this is not the trend in the state right now with numbers going down for behavior
Yes.
referrals. This is not what's happening at all.
Or nationally.
Or nationally either.
Yes.
So I think this is impressive and it speaks to our leadership and all of our staff making connections with the kids, trying to adapt and change and do what's necessary, because this is huge and this is not what, I don't even know of another school that I've talked to that is like this. So
Yeah.
good job.
Thank you.
Great
I
job.
think our social emotional staff does a great job too. I think a lot of the systems that we have in place for social emotional has been a big factor in these numbers improving.
Here's an interesting statistic. You said the violent behavior is down, correct?
Yes, correct.
Now, at our police advisory meeting Friday, Chief Spink said that Parsons, Kansas is #1 in the state in domestic violence. #1 for domestic violence. So that statistic doesn't match that.
Yeah.
So that's a good sign?
It is.
I hope.
Yes. I hope
And
it
then with
continues.
this big drug bust, some of that domestic violence may be coming down.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah.
Any other questions? All right, thank you very much. We'll table our reports from Tri-County until next month. We'll move on to 10.0, action to accept donations to schools.
All right, they're listed on page 33. in your board packet. So this is for the month of August. So Lincoln had a donation of snacks from the Nazarene Church valued at $610. PTO donated teacher mini grants, $1,900. CTS Storage did the snow cones for staff and students, the valued at $285, for a total of $2,795 at Lincoln. Garfield CST did the snow cone shack again. That was valued at $185. PTO did those teacher mini grants. That was $1,400 for a total of $1,585. Guthridge PTO had those teacher mini grants, $1,300. CST, the snow cones, for $231. $1,531 total donations there. At the middle school, CST also did the snow cones for students and staff, valued at $275. That was the total donations at the middle school. The high school had 4 different donations, one from CLC, Positive Reinforcement Program, $137.57. Ohio Pile Prince did, I have a hard time saying that every time, I have to really think it through. Positive Reinforcement Program, $3.02. Parsons Grade School PTO made a donation to the Desk Kicker team for $25. There was an anonymous donation to the Writers Club for $120, totaling $285.59. So all of the donations received by the school district in August of 2024, $6,471.59. So we appreciate our community's generosity, and I recommend that you approve those donations.
So moved. Second.
I moved and second to accept those donations. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, motion carries. 10.1, action on school-based community health worker.
All right. So Jeff has worked with Robert Stiles in other capacities. He used to be the CHC guy, right? When you were in Coffeyville.
He was the CHC when I was in
Right.
Coffeyville.
And so for the last, it's been, well, it was before you came, 4 years. And then once Jeff came, he got on this board. They've been trying to get grants and secure grants for the last 3 or 4 years. And so finally, they were able to secure a grant from the National Institute of Health. And so the grant award for Parsons was
$39,100.
right. And that would be towards hiring a community health worker. And so included in the view on Friday were the different descriptors of what the community health worker would do, what their background is. Jeff's seen
This
this
was
in
more of an
Coffeyville.
attendance-focused community health worker where they would have 38 people on their caseload, work with the families, improve the attendance rates, but do some of those community health worker type things too.
Types of duties. So with $39,100, we sat down with Laura in the business office and tried to figure out, okay, could we make this work without any additional cost to the district? And we do believe that we can do that. We've got 3 or 4 different options. 2 of them would be a full-time employee with benefits, with a little supply allowance, and we'd still be able to come in under that 39, because this position would go until July of this year, and then the grant money would all have to be expended. However,
But I worked with them a little bit and how they've worked with Coffeyville, and they're also in Fort Scott. I think if the partnership goes well and we have good success, I think there's a good opportunity for us to continue the grant success or through another faction of work. This is through KU Med, is that the Telehealth Rocks with Robert Stiles that we've been working with. So we hope that there's continue to continue the community health worker more years, but we feel like this is a good first step.
and we do feel like we can make it work without a cost to the district, but with definitely with a benefit. So we recommend that you would allow us to advertise and recruit a person to fill that school-based community health worker position using those grant funds.
So I guess it'll be brought up again next year regarding funding.
Once the grant, if it's continued.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, moving and second to approve action to recruit school-based community health care worker. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carries. 10.2, action on service maintenance agreement with Design Mechanical.
Okay, so this is in your packet on pages 34 through 40. So this service maintenance agreement is for the inspection and the maintenance of all of the HVAC equipment at the Parsons Middle School. And so since that was all new and it is all warrantied, in order for us to stay in best standing and to make sure that everything that needs to be done is done, we would like for them to continue that agreement. so when they sent it to us, I was like, oh, I've never seen one of these before. Well, come to find out, that's because someone signed it in 2008, and it was never signed again. However, they've continued to do maintenance and inspection on middle school HVAC, so we all learned something new. So this way, it will help protect us, make sure that warranty, we stay in good standing and we do everything that we need to do, and these are the professionals. Now, there is a cost to that annual service of $14,934. It does outline in that agreement all the different visits, what they'll do with the hot water tanks, what they'll do with the circulating pumps, what they'll do during the spring, what they'll do during summer, what they'll do during fall, all of those things. And it does gives you a schedule for equipment review and then just the general conditions. So I do feel like that's over $1 million of an investment that the district has made with federal money to get that building properly heated and cooled. And so I would recommend that you approve that service maintenance agreement. And now that we know it exists, we will check on it every year. We can also then follow through to make sure they're doing all of those things in the summer, the fall, the spring, as well.
So had they been doing the actual?
They had been doing some of that, replacing filters and those kinds of things. And we knew that they were coming, and sometimes, there would be a bill for some of that, but it wasn't anything that we had signed a service agreement for since literally it was 2008, I think, is the one that Miranda found. It's like, oh, okay. I mean, but they're a company that we use regularly for a variety of other things, so it never occurred to me, like, oh, they would have an agreement to do that. And there's really no one left in the maintenance department that was, one person, but not anyone in leadership that was here in 2008 in that office.
Do we have anything similar in any of the other buildings?
No, we don't have it. We don't necessarily have agreements. We have schedules that our maintenance people do. So like we have filter replacement.
That our maintenance people.
That our maintenance people do. Mhm. So we do have schedules. We just don't have a service agreement with an outside agency to provide all of those services, simply because it's been manageable up to this point for our maintenance crews to do those. And Eric has worked very hard on getting it outlined. In fact, in the view this week, there's some software that he wants to purchase that would help mainline, organize all of those things to make sure no matter who's running that office knows what needs to be done and when it needs to be done. We need to do a better job of planning for the future.
And what filters are used?
In that department, yeah. Well,
yeah.
We ordered one year all those filters and
Yeah.
they weren't even the right ones, so.
I guess the other thing is all HVAC units are pretty much localized to each individual building.
They are.
Whereas the middle school with the boilers and the huge units, that's a different animal
It's a
altogether.
beast all by itself. Mhm. Yep.
Okay, I need a motion.
I make a motion to proceed with the lease agreement or
Second.
maintenance agreement.
Okay, moved and seconded to approve that service maintenance agreement with Design Mechanical. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carries. 10.3, discussion of the notice of federal interest.
Okay, so we just got done talking about the money that we use to pay for the middle school and all of that HVAC system. It was federal money, that was ESSER money. And whenever you have over $1 million spent of federal grant money in a specific capital project, then there has to be, what do they call it? It's not really a lien, but it's similar to a lien added. You have to somewhere have noted what the federal interest in that is. And so let's look on what page is it?
41.
41. Get my glasses out here. So here's what we've got. This isn't going to be any action tonight. This is just for you to look at and see if you have questions or things you want for me to ask, either KASB or KSDE. But this right here, now it's minus the actual legal description of the middle school. We've got to get that and put that in there. But this basically says, okay, look, we were the grantee. We got over $1 million from the feds, right? So they're the grantor. And here's what we did with the money. We did indoor air quality, so we did all the HVAC, which is located on the property. And then we have to say, since they gave us $1 million or more to improve that property, that said, they have an interest, the federal government has an interest in the facilities and projects. And it means that we can't, without permission and instruction from the federal government, we couldn't sell it. We couldn't decide we're not going to have a middle school there, we're going to have a flea market. It gives them some rights. Now, and then what we have to do is we have to say that, and then it has to be recorded. And there it is. Now, the question is, how long do they have it? I don't know. No one can answer that question. At KASD, they said maybe the labor people would. At KASB, they said we don't know. To me, it makes the most sense, the life of the equipment. The equipment is, warranted for 20 years, so it makes sense that in 20 years but sometimes the government doesn't always make sense the way you know what I mean? And there's probably a lot of hoops and things that I don't know. So that's one question we're going to ask, and they are right now looking for an answer. This has to be filed by January the 25th of 2025. That's a new requirement. So any district, anywhere in the state that did a capital project, not only did they have a whole lot of additional paperwork to do and reporting, because as things change, they have to do this as well. So I just wanted to make you aware of this and see if there are any other questions that you might have.
Does it say what the penalty is if you don't adhere to it, or if you want out of it?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't think it's up for a vote. I think we have to do it, but I don't know what the penalty is if we don't.
Let's say there's extenuating circumstances and we have to settle the middle
the
school.
20 years,
How do you
right.
get out of it? Is there a penalty, a percentage you pay?
I don't know. I can ask. That's a good
Not
question.
that that's ever a plan, but you
just
also
in
never
case,
know.
you never know. Well, if a
life
tornado
throws
came
at you.
through, or
Correct.
a fire, or anything.
We don't know that yet, and that's why we're not voting on it to
Right.
do it tonight, and that's a problem I had with it, so we'll
Yeah,
just try to get more information, and no one seems to have the answers to those things yet.
that seems good.
So we're waiting a couple months to do it, and hopefully more answers will come out.
That is the goal right now. We just haven't found anybody that has the answers. But I thought if you have other questions, I want to make sure we have all of our questions and we have them early so I can send them in. Did receive a 40-cent raise this year because we went with the board adopted salary schedule for them, that step, and the increase in insurance. However, we all know that everything costs more, and I'll tell you, $30,000 I feel like is a reasonable amount that we do have in the general fund that we could use, and it would go a long way in letting them know that they are appreciated for the work that they do and the commitment that they make, since they don't get paid during the summertime, and they're still willing to come back every August. Those interventionists that they were talking about, that's who this is. Our secretaries that we all know run the building, that's who this is. So.
All right, I think it's a good deal. I'll make a motion that we continue this for 3 days continually.
I second it and third it.
Yeah. And so.
We just heard how hard they worked, yeah.
And they do work
Exactly.
incredibly hard. So moving forward, every year.
This says continually.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
That's my motion.
I just wanted to make sure I had it right. Okay.
So it's kind of changing policy then on this.
It would be in addition to policy, is what
Okay.
it would be. So it wouldn't necessarily be, we just don't have anything in policy about this, so you're right. It would just be language that we would then add to that classified handbook if it were every year moving forward.
Okay. That's the board's wishes. There's a motion and a second to add the 3 additional paid days for 9-month classified staff from this point going forward. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. 10.5, action on additional full-time substitute teacher.
Okay, so last year we had 5 full-time subs that the district employed. This year we went to 2, which is what we'd had prior to ESSER. I really thought we could do it with 2. I really wanted to do it with 2. And one of those full-time subs is actually taking a teaching job in Montana. So he's moved. And so he's later in the agenda to accept his resignation. So that, so there will be that position, so that will be open. So that will take us back to 2. Jeff and I have talked a lot about it. Emily Salyers, who is our substitute clerk, has talked about it. We would like to add an additional full-time sub at semester, so that in the spring, in the winter and in the spring, we would have 3 instead of 2. And so when we do that, let me go back. I've got it on my notes so that you know about what that would cost. So it wouldn't be a full year, it would just be a semester, and which would be really good for the winter sickness that we tend to have in the wintertime, people being gone, and then all those spring athletics and activities. That's when it's very difficult to find enough subs.
Sometimes it's worked out for us to be able to hire a teacher to keep in-house for
Right.
when we have an opening too.
Yeah, we've done that in the last few years,
Yes,
someone
we
that
have.
graduates at December. And so I've been in contact with Pitt State to see if there's anybody graduating in December that might be a really good candidate. And then we have them come in, and that's been really nice because they very quickly learn the Viking way and determine whether or not this is a place that they want to stay.
And I'm
So
going
it's
to Pitt State October 25th.
25th.
Recruiting.
For their day. So it's about $12,000 in wages for that semester, and then about $3,800 for benefits. So it's less than $15,000, which we're going to have to pay for subs anyway. I mean, it isn't like this is extra money. This is what we'd have to pay for a substitute. This would just allow us the flexibility to assign substitutes and hopefully have more coverage and have less teachers have to then use their plan times in order to cover.
All right, I'll make
for
the
their peers.
motion to add another substitute teacher.
Thank you.
Second.
Moved and seconded to add an additional full-time substitute. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carries. 10.6, discussion on the memorandum of understanding between the city 503 and the Rec Commission lease agreement.
Right, okay. So each year with the soccer fields, we have a lease agreement and we have an MOU. And from the beginning, it has been that the rec center pays the district $40,000. And it's in 2 chunks when they get their taxes, in January and in July. And that $20,000, with that, then we have a maintenance person who does all of the fields, gets all the fields and the prep work done, in addition to the supplies, the maintenance, the water, the fertilizer, all of the things that are needed to maintain the soccer field. Okay. So this school year, we have not played soccer on the soccer field. It's not been playable. And part of that is there was a drainage issue. And when it was done initially, it appears it was not done correctly. Part of it was we had an irrigation system. The rec center had the irrigation system. And just a reminder, they were the ones that received the funding, so they were in charge of what they spent and who. So they had purchased a large irrigation system for another area where there was to be a field. And the field never came to fruition there. And when it came here, that same irrigation system was put in. Well, it was way too big for the amount of property that we had, and we didn't know that. I really still don't know how the irrigation guy didn't know that, but I wasn't there for all of those meetings. That's what it is. Then the next thing was it wasn't graded properly. And so then when you have extra water and it's not graded properly, you are going to have things that are going to flood. There's going to be ponding, there's going to be standing water, there's going to be drainage issues, which there were. First, it was the neighbors, because somehow the water was going down that way. Okay, so they got that repaired. But then there was still standing water. And then we had a staff member that, in an effort to be of assistance, got the tractor on the field, and made a big mess because of the standing water that were in pockets. So no one has played on that field this year. We haven't played on the field this year. They've been on the practice field. The practice football field is where we have played our games. So when Gary came, he hadn't signed the MOU or the lease since this summer. Amanda had reached out multiple times, and he came in and we visited. There were a couple of things that he wanted to see if we would be interested in. One would be in reducing the amount that the rec center pays towards their portion. Okay. They haven't played on the field, so I understand, reducing it because you haven't had the opportunity to use the field. Now, we've still had to maintain it, and we're still doing fertilizer, and we're still doing all of those things, but they haven't had the opportunity to have playtime on that field. So there's the potential for this payment, which was due in July, that we've not received yet. There would be the potential to possibly reduce that payment because they haven't had access to the field. Moving forward, here's where we're at. We need to have some work done so that it is playable and so that everything is properly drained. Pat LaForge has come back and done some more work. We had a company come in last week. The amount they said we'd have to scrap the whole thing and start over, which we're not going to do. And that was over $300,000. I don't feel like that's a viable option. Now, today we had in a group from Independence, a nursery from Independence that does drainage, and because we need to have something done at the front of the entrance there as well. So they came and talked about how we could do things in phases, and they're putting a plan together that they will share with Eric, and it may be between $25,000 and $30,000, which I think is a lot more reasonable. So that's kind of where we are. I mean, I think if the plan is to improve the fields, we're going to need those PRC funds in order to help do that, and that should be part of the expectation to help, establish that and offset the cost. I do believe that after this semester, and the thing is, we don't need anybody on the fields until next year. We've gone through and they've done some of the grading work, they've done some of those things. It needs a chance to, I don't know what they call it when they lay down the sod. And so many of these things were given as in-kind things because the grant money had run out. So like Pat LaForge, there were numerous donations that were made. And so we don't want to get on it too soon and tear it up because we'll end up in the same spot we're in now.
So what does the rec center want
So
right now?
the rec center doesn't want to pay right now, the full $20,000.
Okay.
When I asked, how much do you want to be prorated? Well, he didn't know, couldn't tell me. He did ask that the rec center have the ability to use some of our maintenance staff, or to use our maintenance staff person during downtime, the person that was hired to do the fields and that kind of thing. And so in visiting with Laura, she absolutely did not recommend that, just for liability purposes, simply because whose workman comp pays if they're injured, all of those other types of things.
Weren't we not involved at all? Like, the irrigation system was 100% put in by the rec center?
That is correct.
So I'm not sure why we would be prorating or they would be not paying. Because it's not our responsibility. So then they're like removing all culpability from, so I wouldn't be for that, personally.
So that's where we're at. And I know it's frustrating that they haven't been able to play on it. It's been frustrating for our high school kids not to be able to play on it either. But we cannot play on it if it is not safe.
Right.
And with ponding water in different spots, until we're able to get that under control and managed to where, and I feel like we're on the right path. But we've never had a soccer field before. This has been a big learning curve for a lot of people. And when you take the parts that someone else has picked and all the stuff that and then they just put it on your property, you got to work out a whole lot of, kinks. So that's.
So that $25,000 to $30,000, the tiered changes that we're paying for all of that ourselves, correct?
So what we would do is we would use a portion of the money that the rec center pays to help pay for that as well. So my thought is, if moving forward, the plan is, and I think this board's done a good job of planning long-term for the upkeep of facilities. And if the plan is to continue to maintain and upkeep those facilities and improve them as we go, it makes sense that the PRC would pay for that as well.
So we can all have beautiful soccer fields.
So
in the
that
future
everyone
to
can.
play with.
So that everyone can.
All ages.
Hopefully this time next year, everyone in town will get to,
So what are we doing with the $20,000 that's owed now? It's been owed for a couple months.
So it was due in July, it has not been received.
And he hasn't signed the agreement.
That is
And so if-
correct.
and so if we make him pay it, is he gonna sign the agreement? And if he doesn't, then what?
If he doesn't, then it's ours and we can do whatever we want to with it. I would assume. I'll need to
So-
check with our attorney, but.
Okay, so what's our board wanna do on the 20,000 that's been due since July? That's the initial question. Because that may dictate whether the rec center signs the agreement.
Well, I think the rec center also needs to determine if they're willing to go ahead and help with the funds of reworking the field to make it in a playable condition.
So in the future, if
And
they
to
would
what-
be willing to make those two $20,000 payments.
Yeah, and if they would, I think, in my mind, it's kind of like, what are they willing to pay for on the renovation aspect?
In addition to what the MOU said of the 220,000?
Because, I mean,
So you think they're gonna pay 20 grand twice and then also pay for part of this?
no, but I think that will lend itself to letting us make a decision of, well, do we forgive one aspect of the 20,000 if they're willing to pay
Yeah.
20,000? And
Okay.
I don't know.
All right, well, we all know where the rec center gets their money. They get it from us.
From us,
We
right.
levy the tax. And so it's just a vicious circle. So are we kicking the can down the road another month until we figure out what the rec center is willing to do on the 20 and for this time, and then also future payments for renovations and improvements? Is that the?
I also think we need to know what we're dealing with financially, as far as the renovations specifically, what their proposal is, because I'd like to see that proposal. Maybe it's 20,000, maybe it's 50,000.
Right, and so they came today, and so hopefully by the end of the week, we'll have some kind of
Okay.
proposal that we can share. And it will be a short-term, and then here's a long-term, so that we can look at it.
Let's kick it then. So we'll just table any action on it, but it says discussion, but
Right.
eventually we're gonna have to take some action on what we're gonna do.
Okay.
Or not, because if they don't sign it, well then, we don't have a signed memorandum of understanding, and so then we don't have an agreement, and so we're kind of running the show.
Right, it is district property.
Okay, all right. So we'll move to 10.7, executive session for personnel matters for non-elected personnel. Need 15 minutes on that. So we need a motion.
A 5-minute bathroom break?
Can we have a 5-minute bathroom break?
Well, I don't need one. I haven't dipped into my Diet Mountain Dew.
It's been
but I
2
guess-
hours, Jeff.
I guess maybe we
She's finished her
can
Stanley
take one.
water.
All right. So we need 5-minute bathroom break, then a 15-minute executive session. So need a motion for that.
And move we go into 5-minute bathroom break starting at 7:45, ending at 7:50, 15-minute session ending at 8:05.
Okay, and that will be for confidential employee information pursuant to the non-elected personnel exception under COMA. And we'll have superintendent, assistant superintendent with us. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Are back in open session and move on to 10.8. We don't have anything for 10.8, which is an executive session for employer-employee negotiations. However, moving to 10.9, we do need 5 minutes for an executive session to discuss confidential student information. So I need a motion in that regard.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded to enter executive session 8:07 for 5 minutes, returning here 8:12 to discuss confidential information regarding a student. Under that exception for coma, we'll have Assistant Superintendent and Superintendent with us. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Back in open session at 8:12.
at it, I'm like, oh, it won't be that long. I'm like, wait, there's always a presentation or something.